Hello and welcome back to Compiler Programming. Today I want to start working on the macro situation, and I'm not even sure that it will be exactly the macro part of it, but what I called statement macros here is what I want to work on it today. So right now, if we look at the setup, we have this match, so maybe it's a rewrite statement, and we have rewrite statement if, and then we have a bunch of other statement setups. Maybe I can go to the very bottom, or I can go to parse block, and that will show us what that looks like. So it is actually talking parse statement, and I guess here we would need to do some stuff. So let's bookmark this thing and jump to parse statement. Yeah, right now we are trying to rewrite the macros, and I think I will take out this in the way that it is done right now and replace it with something else. But the main idea is this stuff should change. We already have this kind of stuff where it says, okay, we were able to match something, but there are a couple of things I want to do about this. The thing number one is right now we are not matching, we are not checking that we actually got the whole expression. Maybe I can even try to demonstrate it with a test, although I'm not sure that it will be very much possible, but we can try. So if I do something along the lines of this, I don't care about the return values, so it is let me get this one, I guess. Yeah, void to void, I don't care about this, and then values function, checker, yeah. Okay, something like this. And let's try to write an if that says if 1 less than 0, and then 0, and then something like this. So first of all, let's see if that even passes. That should work just fine. Should report an error when the statement is not matched fully. So right now, this is not the full test, but I want to make sure that my original code is passing without any problems. Yeah, I cannot check this. I think I even don't need to do this stuff. And then, yeah, I do have to force this. Maybe I don't even need this, to be honest. I don't need to call it. I just need it like this. And I will need to switch it around. Yeah, something like that. And then let's move it to user error tests, because it seemed to be one of them. And I will right now not assert on the message and like this. I will just leave it at this stuff and see if that works out. Test. Okay, so that passes, of course. But now I think if I do, like I just add garbage here. So see, there is an extra 42 here. I think it will still all be very much fine. And by fine, I mean there are no errors. Actually, it seems that there is an error. That's quite interesting. What is an error? Slice, print, error message. Okay, what is the error here? And the error is undefined variable if. That's interesting. Okay, I think I remember now. I already wanted to do something like this with matching, but I don't think it is consistent. Yeah. So what happens is in some of them, we actually have token match and, but it's a bit finicky to deal with this stuff, and it is not consistent across different calls. Okay, so that is then fine. It also gives sort of a bad error message, I guess, because instead of saying that there should be nothing after if, we are even failing to parse an if, and that's not good user experience. So that's something to improve as well. Okay. For now, I will make the test that just checks that there are errors and fix me update error text. No, that is the wrong place. What I meant to do is I meant to do it here. Text check. Okay, so this is where we are starting with, and now we are ready to actually make the change. And the change I want to make would turn these things into more generic functions. And let's see what I have in mind. It will get the contexts that make sense, and maybe I want to not do this token matcher state. Instead, it will just get the full. That's an interesting question. Yeah, I think it should get the full array of stuff, and it will indicate if it failed to match. This is a very interesting question, actually. Who would be in charge of saying that something went wrong? Because imagine a situation where we have several different statement variations that almost match but not quite. So we have something like this, but then we would have another if, for example, or I don't know, foo, whatever, or we have while. So neither of them actually matched, but while was closer to being the right thing. It's just that there was something else on the back. Errors are always hard, and I'm not exactly sure what would be the right strategy here. But I guess what we can do is to try to figure out the best match, or we can say, maybe we can say the following. If the statement matched a range, but there is something at the end of that match, then we are not happy with it. Maybe that would be a good strategy. Let's try that. But before we do, I want to change. Where was that parse statement stuff? Okay, parse statement, yeah. I'm not sure if I should put it in the context or if I should put it in the scope, but I want to turn this into an array of function pointers that we just go through. So we can very easily and dynamically add or remove these things from the array. And before we put it on one of these, I will just do it in line. And I think we already have maybe a callback type for this stuff, or maybe we don't. Well, let's introduce that anyhow. Okay, let me mark this and search for callback, proc, whatever. About and proc, no, expression, callback. I thought we had some kind of type for expression callback, but I guess I'm wrong. Callback, yeah, actually, yeah, so that was the thing. Token rewrite expression callback. So this is what it is. We can do something similar here. Let's create that type. It does not get a result. And here we say token statement callback or statement matcher. And we also need to create an array of it. So type def matcher proc. Like this. And now we can actually make it. This would be very stupid right now, but I want to take it step by step. So I will create this array right away, and then I will go through that array. And then I will just take out the creation of this array into some other place and deal with it later. Okay, so array token statement matcher proc. Procs is a dynamic array make, or maybe we'll call it matchers, dynamic array make of this gigantic thing. And for now I'll just lick it maybe, or let's destroy it. No, let's lick it, it's fine. It's gonna move from here anyway. And we will say fix me move to program init, maybe, I don't know. And say we will push a bunch of stuff. Dynamic array push to matchers, this stuff. So basically what previously was this OR statement, we are now turning into an array. Assignment, definition, assignment, definitions, explicit return, and go to constant definitions and an if statement. If statement probably should actually be the first, but doesn't really matter. And if all of that has failed, then statement is an expression. So that part actually stays as it is. And now we just go through this and try to match it. for u64 I is 0, I is less than then I make array length of matchers plus I. So for now, I will just do it just the way it was a second before, and then we will try to improve it. If so, let's extract the proc. Proc is matcher dynamic array get of matchers I, and if matcher of state, then return. So this is exactly equivalent to the code before. Yeah. Context, state, scope builder, I guess. Yep. Okay. Let's try to run the tests and see if it still works out. It does. That now means that we can try to move this array to somewhere else. Okay, let's take this stuff and, I don't know, show it somewhere closer to the bottom. Maybe here. Actually, no, it needs to be after scope. Okay, that's good. And now we need to put this array on some objects or structs. It's a very good question where it should go. Do we want to track statement support scope by scope, or do we want to only allow on a global level? I mean, scope by scope would be pretty nice, because then we would be able to do stuff like, say, I want to do inline, like inline assembly, really inline line, without the quotes like it's done in other languages, and I would be able to do something like this. I would be able to say, I don't know, x86, and then add ex1 or something. So when I do, this would be some kind of a macro as well, and that will also define all of these operations inside this particular scope. So that could be pretty neat capability. So maybe it should be on the scope. It might be a bit tricky to do, but let's just put it there. We already have macros here anyway, so you know, that's fine. We have like this. We might need to do type def for scope. So let's put this array now here. We say array token statement matcher proc, and that would be statement matchers, something like that, I guess. Okay, if we put it on the scope, that means that we need to iterate over all the scope from the current one upwards. So we say scope star statement matcher scope is scope, and while statement matcher scope, if we have an array of matchers, like we don't want to put array there always, we want to be able to say, and it either exists or doesn't exist. So that's what this check is. Dynamic array is initialized of, maybe I can say if not matcher or statement matcher scope statement matchers. Then we just continue. Otherwise, we do this stuff. So we take this loop, we put it over here, and we are getting it from this expression. So something like that. That sounds good. Okay, we won't need this stuff anymore. And this is where the interesting thing comes. Where do we put this list? I guess, as I said, we will go back to program init, because right now this is where we set up all the scope stuff. Maybe that's not the best way to do it, but for now I'll just shove it in here. And I will say that on a global scope, so we will say program global scope. So we'll add this array, we will initialize it there. Statement matchers is a dynamic array make of, and then I need that very long name, array token matcher proc. Yeah, that seems perfectly fine. Allocator, well, let's take this one, then don't think it matters too much. We use star. Okay. Now we have a problem that we don't know about any of these things because they are not defined ahead of time. That's fine. We can fix that, I guess. Let's go to source.h, put it here, and then replace this stuff. Okay. It will get some kind of arguments, which are like this. They all get the same arguments. Maybe I could turn it into some sort of macro, but not right now. And they all return a bool from what I understand. Okay. Syntax error. Yeah, we are having like this. And also, I think I chose the wrong argument because here it should actually take a token matches state. So that's another thing I'd like to replace. This, and we are done. Missed a boolean here. Okay, that is an improvement. What's wrong with you? Well, you're going along the wrong one. That is easily fixable, and we are good. Let's try to run the test again and see how we are doing. So I know what's going on. I don't actually do the right thing. So statement matchers scope is scope or parent. Right, we are iterating over linked lists of scope. Good. Let's try again. And that is interesting. Now I'm not exactly sure what is wrong. Does it crash or does it? No, it doesn't actually crash. It's just constantly goes. Oh yeah, of course. So I need to do it here. And maybe then let's turn all of this into a for loop. And put this here instead so that our continue actually works. Okay, I think I can commit this separately. Episode 127, how should we call it? Allow to change statement matchers per scope. That sounds decent. Okay. Now, as I said, another thing I wanted to do has to do with the way that we handle these kinds of calls. So let's check explicit return, for example. Okay. Yeah. So first of all, this is completely wrong. Right now we can't return an expression. So that's awkward. But yeah, the point is we don't really need to replace anything in the statement anymore. Instead, we just need to say, were we able to fully match the statement versus not really? And this is then something to change in all of these guys. Here, I think we can just remove this and it's going to be fine. I mean, it was broken anyway. Okay. And we need to go through all of them and look at what they are doing. Okay, so what are you doing? You're doing this stuff, and I think the best way to deal with that is like this. So yeah, we don't need to replace this anymore. We are trying to match an if followed by parentheses followed by curly. That seems fine. The only question is what to do about this stuff. I think I want to turn this into maybe. So let me bookmark this and try to look at what it does actually. So it will be define this. Okay. So I don't want to have token match end anymore. I want to have, no, I actually don't want this macro at all. I will do it manually in each place because it is slightly different depending on the usage. In fact, right now there seems to be maybe only one usage of that, but let's see what we have. So if peak index is not dynamic array length of tokens, so if we get extra stuff, then that is not cool. Now that I'm thinking about it, as far as if goes, let's fix it also to not require parentheses. Yeah, let's change all of this completely. Forget everything I said before. This is how it's going to be interpreted now. And it will always match fully. So we'll match on if, and then we'll just take everything else, and then we will take the last we'll take the last token that is there and consider that to be a body, and then we will try to match this as an expression. It will fail, and we will be happy. So that's a plan, maybe with an if. Let's try to execute on that. So if we didn't match if, then this is indeed broken, but in all other cases, that's not the case. In other cases, we just get the rest of the tokens. So something like this. That sounds good. Now we will do so if there is nothing there, yeah, now we'll make actually if pretty nice to work with. So the first error should be like this. If we have just an if by itself, then it's an error, right? And we obviously need to report that to the user. So let's report that. If keyword must be followed by an expression. Yeah, that seems good. We can copy this even with a literal, and that would be our error. So if not dynamic array length of rest. So if we just have an empty if, that is going to be this error. This is our builder. Let's actually do that and go to error. Okay, what do we do with error? Well, we still will need to return true, so we did match this statement, it's just that it was bad. And I also need to actually destroy this array, destroy of rest. Okay, and let's take this stuff, and we will put keyword into here. Okay, that looks good. There is an interesting question whether something like if one should be an error. And I guess in a sense that it's useless. So there is a question about whether I want to have warnings in a language versus straight up errors. Like what is an if is empty body? Because I think as far as C goes, it will allow you to do that. But it's an interesting question about semantics. I will not decide on that right now. I will just say that if with an empty body is perfectly fine, and then we will figure it out later. Okay, so if we don't have length, then that's fine. Actually, it will be an error, and it will be an error automatically. So everything is okay. And the reason it's going to be an error is because we will say token star body is we'll just pop something from the end of the array here, and that's going to be our body, and then we will have rest as the condition. So this doesn't. This actually goes away. Yeah. Condition value, okay. So my problem right now is I need to have a token to have a condition. And this is something that I will have to probably fix across the whole compiler. Well, right now I expect I can only evaluate a single token as an expression instead of just passing in a bunch of tokens together. So fix me. Um, support this without a fake token. But for now, what I can do is I can just say token fake expression or fake paren is this type is token type. Actually, I will copy the keyword so the source is more or less correct. Or no, well, let's do it properly. Token type parent, and then I'll have children is rest. Then I will have source range, which is token matcher state or source range from token matcher state. This will actually explode right now. Don't know. That's an interesting question. Okay, token matcher state, and then we say condition state. Now let's just copy it from if right now. I will say keyword source range. It's not strictly correct, but it's fine enough for now to do better range. And we need to have a source, and source is whatever. Fix me proper source. The whole point of this is just that we get a token that we can pass into here. Okay, so that is condition, that is else, token parse block body. Yeah. All of that seems perfectly fine. Let's see how many errors I made. Dynamic array pop. Yeah. You need like this. And apparently we were using token matcher. And in here, I will just not. We'll take care of it separately. Fix me. And I will guess that one is also needs to fix me. And one final one. I actually want to change how label is done at all, but that's for later. But now let's see if we get our nice error message or not, and if everything still works, of course, because I'm not convinced that I did everything right. Well, it sort of works. I think the problem is in here. I cannot do this. Instead, I will just take it from the word. That should probably work. Apparently not. Okay, Let's check in the debugger what's going on. Dynamic array sub internal. Rewrite statement if state tokens, pick index. What is the size? Okay, so apparently I think I have a bug in this routine. Yeah. We should be allowing to return I think it should be like this, but let's see if that is actually true. It might cause other issues. Source. What are you crashing on exactly? Locals, range from is less than source length. Maybe it's just like this. Okay. If I can't figure it out, I will just work around it in main code, but it is a good idea to fix a library if it's does something wrong anyway. Let's try again. Well, we definitely made progress. And so we get the right error. And which test is broken now? Okay, so this test is broken now. Well, it's supposed to be broken, but not with an assertion, of course. We need to fix the error message. And what is going on? We do make if token rewrite statement, make if, and condition value. Yeah, okay. We can fix that. I do need to figure out how the best to handle the unwinding of the parser, because like if we get an error somewhere very deep inside the program, we need to propagate it all the way up, and right now it's very incoherent how it's done, and I would like to make that better. So here we can say if like maybe all of these things should actually return a boolean saying that whether they succeeded or not, and if they failed, then they failed. And yeah, Go, of course, does it with multiple return values, but there are no multiple return values in C, so it's not great. Okay, if condition value descriptor type is descriptor type any, or actually let's inverse this. If it's not an any, then I will do this. Otherwise, or actually no, it was correct before. If it's an any, we need to report an error. Or error should be reported before for the parsing of the expression, so we don't even need to report an error here. We'll just do go to error. Condition value. Okay, is this any better? Okay, we no longer have issues. Now the only question is, do we get a nice error message when that happens? Let's check that. So if keyword must be followed by an expression, and then here could not parse an expression. Okay, both of them seem actually correct. Let's change this setup here to could not parse the expression. Yeah, and the reason it can't parse the expression because right now it tries to parse this. This doesn't make any sense, and we'll have a failure. Obviously, right now also the failure will be on the whole range, which is not great. But once I transition parsing of expressions, not just constant expression as it is right now, but regular expressions, or like just expressions, not regular one, because that's a bit ambiguous. Once the transition parsing of expression into this shunting algorithm that I introduced in the previous video, then we will even get the parsing error at exactly the right point here. I think it will be then here, but right now, that's fine. Also, this change that we just made means that we can do things that maybe not necessarily are, not everybody will like about now the syntax, but for example, this is perfectly valid now, same as in C, but at the same time, we can also, like, even this is valid. This is unambiguous, but if you want to do something like this, then you need to put parentheses here, and then it becomes unambiguous again, or you can put a block here, and it also works. So all of those versions work. I think this is the canonical version, and we can actually, if I decided that I don't like other versions, I could assert that the last one is actually a curly brace and only support that version. And maybe that is a good idea long term, but I will see how I feel about it once I start using the language for real. For now, it is not very important. Okay, so that is with if stuff. I'm kind of okay with the main setup. I will clean up this stuff later. Don't want to spend too much on it because it will involve changing sort of the signature of token forced value and other things, and it's just going to be a very long thing. So instead, let's maybe look at other match end stuff and see what should happen. Well, this is rather easy one to do. We basically say that let me think about what I should put there. Well, yeah. Where are you? Label, right? So this is what it should be. If peak index is not yeah, it's not dynamic array length of state, then we need to error out and go to error. Actually, label should not even be here. So maybe like this is correct. And we need to report on this state. So we can say token star token star extra token or something is a dynamic array get state tokens big index. So if we have something passed where the label stays, then we get the token and we report it to the user. Error builder, and can say unexpected token. And we can, if we want to, well, this actually will already do the right thing if I just do it like this. State tokens. Like this. And we can again verify that errors actually work out when we say should report an error for an if statement without a body or a condition, an error for an if statement with an incorrect condition. And here we can do an error for extra tokens after label. So this system definitely allows us to do nice error reporting. If it is too much work to do that nice error reporting, I don't know right now, but that is something we can figure out. Unexpected token. Obviously, I can also improve the actual wording of the message, but since I will probably get rid of all of this anyway, I will not spend time on it right now, but I wanted to verify that we can do the reporting. Interesting. So what is the message? Could not parse an expression. Interesting. Who calls token match label? Definitions. It's only called in a definition. Okay. So then it needs to be bar is label foo. And now we should get the right error. Okay, cool. So I'm pretty happy with that. It wasn't really something crazy this time, like parsing that was in the previous episode, but this is also sort of work that needs to be done. We did two things today. First of all, it is now possible, theoretically at least, to add more things into the statement stuff, right? So if I go to parse statement, we now have this nice loop, and it allows us to specify new statement. So maybe according to that GitHub issue, I will also create a way to do it from user code. So you will be able to create new one yourselves, and maybe that what while should actually be, because right now it's just this generic macro and it's not very nice how it works, right? So maybe I will improve how this will work. But today we did the skeleton for that, and the second part is we definitely can now make nicer error messages to the user, and that's also something that just needs lots of care and work to get right. But I think my strategy there will be to start to get the language to the point where I can use it as fast as possible, and then start seeing what is actually annoying about error messages and try to fix those things. For today, that's all. I thank you very much for watching, and hopefully see you next time.